Hello, YouTube. This is Bub's Comics coming at you with the No Faces Comic Chat. Wave your little hands, everybody. Woohoo! Nice. We are here tonight. Our normal guest, although he is always as special as always, right? Metarog, Roger. Say hello, Rod.
Greetings, everyone. Why would I say hello to myself?
I don't know. I mean, everyone needs a good greeting every now and then.
Okay, well, hello, Raj.
Okay. Well, maybe there's an echo in the room and you would have to hear your name twice.
Twice?
Yeah, maybe, but not in this case.
What would that sound like, Roger?
Roger, Roger.
That's right. And with us, not as always, but he's an alumnus of the show. He's been with us once before. We have the Knights of Old showing. What is that? What do you got there?
It's a robot.
A robot. All right. Megazord. Well, say hello.
Is that a Megazord?
Say hello, Redeem.
Roger.
Hello.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Cool.
All right. Well, he's going to do the fist bump in spite of social distancing. We are all here, and yet we're not all here. That goes without saying. But we've got DS once again unavailable to join us. He hasn't given up on us. He's just given up on internet at his house for a minute. So, but we look forward to having him back just as soon as he can be back.
It's not the time to be without internet.
Well, he's got. I guess he's worried about the bandwidth because Mrs. DS is also in the domicile and using the bandwidth during that time for work. So that's what's going on there. It's not the Corona crotch as Roger reported a week ago. Was not the Corona cooter.
Such thing. I did not report any such thing.
Just, that wasn't what it was. Roger tried to get us to believe it, but we knew better.
I do not have a medical degree. I am not qualified to make a diagnosis of that sort.
Well, all right then. Well, we've got the chats are popping already. I tell you what an amazing group. You know, Roger, you haven't shouted out the chat in a long time. Do you know that?
I shouted them out yesterday and when I had my live stream.
Oh, well, I guess I missed the invite.
Well, that's because you didn't get one.
Oh, no wonder.
Unless you have a lot of fireside books, you know, we didn't invite you.
No, I don't think I do. I haven't checked lately.
Okay. But yeah, I'd be honored to shout out this, you know, our chat is, you know, just the top.
Sounds like it. Yeah, go ahead and take the honor there.
Being here early. This is the guy who, you know, camps out in front of the Best Buy when the new iPhone's coming out. You know, Unruly Simeon was here 16 minutes early, followed very, very soon afterwards by Gretzky, the Archie collector, and Morris Bad Dad was in here. Scott Neely, who I think has been working from home too. He's getting his like closet together there, and oh man. Jason's in here, my good buddy. We got Werewolf by lunchtime from Perth, right? He was on the stream last night too. Mike is in here from Canada, as you say. I think is it you who says that? Canada? Well, anyway,
sure, Canada.
My buddy Lawrence is in here. Kim Comicdom. Mac Daddy Austin 109. I love that name. That's cool.
Mac Daddy.
Okay. So who else we got here? Bigglesworth, my buddy Doug. How you doing, man? And of course, the ever-present Silver Age Dave. He was in my stream last night. He's here today. And here is, yeah, okay. I-beams.
That's for silver.
That's for silver. Oh, I gotcha. Jackson Roykirk's in here. Really knowledgeable guy. Love it when he's, you know, comments, right? He's doing dishes and listening in. Very nice. And I think that's it for now. And of course, we have the art chemist that just came in. Arsenio, how you doing?
So Scott Neely's saying that you guys showed some pics that I like. Was that in your little chat?
Well, I don't know. What kind of pics that did we show that he liked? Oh, the superhero woman. Yeah, that's right. We had a fireside called the Superhero Woman, and it had Black Widow and a lot of the very attractive superhero ladies.
Yeah.
From Marvel. Yeah, that's true.
That sounds
That's
good.
True. That's true.
We got more robots coming in.
Yeah, I mean, gosh,
Is
Mike.
Is that some sort of collected set there, Knights of Old?
Oh, it's just some of the main guys from the Shogun Warrior line, as they call it in America.
Nice.
Shogun Warriors from the late 70s. But there's like 300 or so of these things.
Holy moly.
To collect them, but they're all like Jedi's, most of them, and they're like insanely expensive, so I don't do that. This guy's an import, but he's the German one, I think.
Oh, German. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I believe they call that Sprechen Sie Robot. I'm not mistaken.
That's Grandizer,
yeah.
Mazinger, and no, this is Great Mazinger and Radian.
Yeah,
Nice.
Scott Neely says Mazinger and Grandizer. Grandizer. He knows his robots. Scott Neely.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
But they had all these comics in America that had some of these guys.
Our Earthwell host DS Comics is in the chat. He says, "What's up, guys?"
Hey, yes, I sent you a link if you ever want to try use your phone or something.
Yeah, man.
Guy's got like a Yondu arrow on top of his head, doesn't he?
We miss you, DS. We miss you, buddy.
Yes.
We miss you a lot. I got to take on Bub by myself sometimes. That's
a
hard. That's a tough act. That's a tough act to do. We have to double team him just to stay even.
I'm worried about you, Roger. Well, tonight we're going to be discussing a topic that seems to be floating around the community right now, and that's organization and how we organize our comics. I know we've discussed this a little bit before, but we've got a special guest in Roger, and also Knights of Old is here. So we thought we'd go ahead and discuss it a little bit further. With all this time off, people are finding themselves staring at their comic collections and wondering, what the heck are we going to do with this mess, right?
Yep.
So I think a lot of people have kind of opened up Pandora's box in that they have just jumped in and started tearing apart long boxes and short boxes, and I've seen some people with stacks of comics all over their room.
All over the place,
they don't have a plan. Like they're, I've always hated the stain on this short box. They take all the comics out, dump them out, and throw away the box, and now what, right? So we thought we'd jump in, chime in a little bit, and have a little open discussion about some of the things that we could do to clean up the clutter. I mean, if this is you, we're here to help you. So we'll see how it goes.
That's a good one. That's
I don't know if it's happening to you guys, but like I've heard from some other people, not necessarily about comics, but that in these times of stress and uncertainty, certain people, not everybody, but they can look to organizing and like as a way of like control in their life, and so they start like focusing on like I gotta get this clean, and just because it kind of takes you away from the real life, and it helps you kind of feel in control. And I know that's been happening to me a bit, so
yeah,
curious about you guys.
Since there are things you can control, you focus on the things you can control.
Yeah,
and that's very common way of dealing with stress and exigent circumstances like this, and sometimes you do it, not most of the time you don't do it consciously, but you have the time, and you have to be bored and idle is like a problem, because people are venturing out because they're just cabin fever. You've heard that term before. So sometimes I take my stuff outside and work on it just so I can get a better perspective of I'm not imprisoned. I'm just have to stay within a certain parameters of my home.
Yeah. I think that one of the problems that people encounter is that it's already an overwhelming task, or can be, to organize a collection. And everything is more difficult when you don't stop what's causing the problem. And us as collectors, we have a hard time stopping that, you know?
Right.
I mean, it would be like trying to clean the shower while taking a shower, you know, or trying to clean the toilet while, well, you get the idea, you know? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So our comic collections continue to grow. And every time you stop, you try and say, you know what, I need to really get this under control. I really need to get this cleaned up. I need to get this organized. Man, you know, there's another box coming in the mail tomorrow. And if there's not, you're probably going out hunting, you know, for more books too. So I think now where people have maybe a little bit less time to hunt in person, they might find themselves with a little more time to collect, because you can kind of gauge when the packages are coming, you know? So if you haven't ordered anything today or tomorrow, maybe you have nothing coming today or tomorrow, and you can go ahead and, you know, start organizing. So good luck.
I know what you're talking about there. You know, especially there are people who are used to, like, you know, getting into cons, and, you know, they have certain 2020 want lists that they thought they would be able to tackle during 2020 as under normal circumstances, and now they find themselves that they can't be out there wheeling and dealing. Obviously, LCSs are going to be closed for the most part, so you're right. They're you sort of have a sort of a psychological, almost fugue state, and like, I have to get comics. So, you know, you go to eBay or Comic Link or whatever else, and maybe you don't have the financial, you don't have the fiscal responsibility you would if you're, you know what I mean. You know, when you pay something by credit card, the statistics show you're more liable to pay more because you don't actually see the money going out. And I
could see that.
It sort of could be like that when you're getting comics through the mail or through, you know, that you don't have in your own hand, because, you know, you have that kind of, I don't know how to explain it exactly. You have this wanderlust, you know, you're just like, you want to go somewhere, you want to get something done, and you're frustrated because you can't. So you sort of focus on that. Oh, I have a 2020 want list, so I want to get something off of there. And it might cost you a little more because you don't have, or you don't go through the usual steps that you do to get the bargains. You just say, okay, it's there. I don't have any, I haven't spent any money on new comics in 2 weeks, so I'm going to use that money and get, you know, $200 comic, for example. I mean, depending on what your pull list is, I guess.
Yeah. And the comic collector's saying that, that's another Tim, right? So Tim is saying that he finally has time to read comics. But what's funny, and even though that's not adding to the collection, I actually get myself in trouble reading comics too, because I'll start leaving them all over the house. Like, I don't know. Does anyone else do this? So I'll have like a living room run that I'm working on reading. Then I'll have like a bedroom run. And then I'll have like an office run, where in each place I'll have books of a storyline that I'm kind of working on, usually back issues, you know? Right. And then when I'm in that room and I'm bored, that's what I do. So,
right. I only do it. I do do that, but only in 2 rooms, the comic room and the spare bedroom. Those are the 2 places that because I know my wife doesn't go into either. So it doesn't, you know, it doesn't affect, you know, because if she hates clutter, you know,
yeah,
that's the one thing she just despises. So I keep it in those 2 rooms. That way I'm out of trouble.
I have like the pile of reading that I think I'm going to get to by the bed, and that sometimes piles up, and then I have to get that out of there. And then I have like a pile of like, I'm going to sell these, and that's like in some spare room. Yeah. I haven't been reading too much, so. Or buying much, actually, because there's been weird expenses lately just being this long, so I'm a little more cautious with the cash.
Yeah, and we should be.
Yeah,
I think we should. Yeah.
I think that's only being prudent right now. But interesting, like Hialeah, if I can find his little whatnot.
There are deals, yeah, like you said.
He's saying there's good deals, and he also said he spent his MegaCon money online, and that's definitely happening. But I think it's happened so quickly that, like, everyone that had a con budget, I don't know anyone. And please, if anybody in the chat wants to chime in on this, if did you have a con budget that you had saved and a convention that you were going to go for, that you had that money saved, and do you still have that budget? Because my guess is that over the course of the last 2 weeks, it's been blown.
Yep, that was my point. That's my point. Yeah, that was my point. That now since we don't have anything to look for, we don't have a face-to-face place to go, and like I'm not a big con guy, right? But if you go to a con, you have various people there, that you have various options. You may see a comic book. Let's say you want ASM 252. You see it somewhere for $200, and then you see it another place for $150. And then you can go to the other guy. Hey, I see it over here for $150. Can you get it for me $150? So you can Bub is really good at that. He's good at the wheeling and the dealing and the whole bit, right? But online, you can try to wheel deal, but it's much tougher because it's not present. You can say, oh, so this guy on my comic shop has it for that, and they're going to say, so what? So,
yeah, because you can't get it now, right?
You can't get it now, so I got you over a barrel.
No, that's a good point. But I am still, and that's a very good point, because I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm going online and I'm checking prices, but I have no intention of buying from those places. So I'm just kind of keeping an eye on things and seeing how they go, because with a lot of those online stores being frozen, they give you a good idea of what the price was when things got frozen. So if someone's offering something higher than that, you can just hold out and say, no, I'll wait, because when this is all over, I can still buy that book for less. So that's the way I'm looking at it, is that I'm still using those sites and those outlets as reference, but I'm not purchasing, obviously, if they're not going to let you. But I have bought over the course of the last 2 days, I've bought 45 books.
Wow.
In the last 2 days. I bought 10 from an online retailer. I bought 5 from an LCS that was doing Facebook sales. And I bought 30 from Instagram. So I've been busy,
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Emerald, the con that I usually go to, Seattle one, was canceled, and that helped me buy the artwork. I think I showed on the Golden Guys.
Golden Guys, yeah, I saw that. Oh, that's beautiful, man. That is gorgeous.
Fantastic.
I mean, just
but still, it's a little weird spending all that money, just in what's going on. But it also gave me, I'm sure it definitely gave me some price off, some discount.
That's pretty impressive.
And that's odd to me, because you would think that more people would be buying online, so there would be maybe more competition online, and you wouldn't be getting those as good a bargains, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, I think, if you're a big art dealer, I'm guessing you don't know as well as us what's going to happen. And I'm sure the buying hasn't been exactly the same. I'm sure some have stopped, especially probably their big budget guys, with stocks dropping so much. I'm sure they were holding off. It's not like they're not going to, buy, stop buying altogether ever, but they'll probably be more cautious.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that play for me. I mean, some people don't have their full budget right now, of course. But then, for me, if I'm not leaving the house, one of the things that I felt prudent to do for my family, and I'm not preaching to anybody else what they should do, but one of the things that I think everyone kind of has something that kind of gnaws at them in the back of their mind. That's like, hey, if I do this, and that could be the thing that got us sick, and if I did that, and I knew it could get us sick, then oh my goodness, right? So everyone's trying to dodge those future regrets. At least I am. So just naturally, not on purpose, just happens. And so in the back of my mind, I feel like drive-through food and stuff like that's probably that time is past now. You need to be cooking at home, or I need to be cooking at home, and not dealing with people that are in drive-throughs, as much as possible. So because of that, we've been eating a lot at home for the last 2 weeks. Like, we haven't had any takeout food or anything. We've been doing nothing but cooking and fixing food at home for the last 2 weeks. So that saved me like $200 in food budget easily $100 a week in food. And then not spending gas, because I work out of town. I work in the town next to mine. So it's like 40-minute drive or so to work every day, one way. So that right there is another, I'm saving on gas, and gas is really cheap too.
Yeah.
So actually my comic budget has grown by a few $100s a month at least. So that's kind of nice,
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
If you're still working and you have the same income, you're ahead, because like you said, you have very little transportation costs, and your food costs are going to be down, because I did get takeout once, but otherwise we've been eating in for like 3 weeks. So yeah, it's been much cheaper. You're right.
Yep. Hi, Lee wants to know if we think there'll be a buyer's market at the cons once they start up again. I tell you, I think now is the time. I got an original piece done. I haven't shown it on here. I showed it on Hialeah's channel a couple weeks ago, and it's been hanging in my living room ever since. I need to get it out. But it's just, I think now is a good time to commission original art, because these guys, they're not doing nothing. Like, you know what I mean? They're pumping out art all day long. So if there's an artist that you follow on Instagram or whatever, hit them up and see if you can get an original piece done if you're into that. And I am. So I think now's a good time for anything like that. Any of the creative types who are basically sitting at home before anyway, but now they're really staying at home. Try and get as much as you can off them. And prices are reasonable, and they're working really fast. So
I think books that comics that are kind of not super keys are going pretty low right now too, because a lot of people are like, ooh, that's a pretty good deal, but I've waited a long time just to fill in these issues. They're not like keys or anything, they're always around, so maybe I'll wait a little longer. Well, a lot of people are saying that, so I feel like those books are going way cheap, as opposed to like keys are still, it's harder to pass up a good deal on that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm kind of in the same boat too. I'm picking up right now. I'm trying to pick up minor keys, books that would have been in the $50 to $75 range for low grade, of course, as I'm picking up, and trying to get them for under 50, trying to work my way down about 20, 25 bucks on average to the things that I'm picking up. And it's working out pretty well so far. And again, you got to kind of trust who you're buying from right now, because like, if I wouldn't buy from Instagram unless it was someone I had bought from before, or someone that I knew from the YouTube community, at least. Like, that's my, I don't trust Instagram by itself. I have to at least know you somewhere else,
Right.
Other people probably, if once before I've taken a chance with that person and bought or sold something to them, and it was a lesser book, then maybe next time I feel more confident to buy a more expensive book, make a bigger purchase, Right. But I just feel like with online sales, there's going to come a point where someone's going to say, yes, I took your money, and no, I can't go to the post office to mail your book.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's just waiting for that to happen,
Yeah. Here's a couple of interesting comics here. Key Comics Market Watch says it's going to be a buyer's market for at least a year.
That's a long time.
That's a bold prediction there. But Key Comics, he knows his stuff.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. So and then somebody else here that Dave Enrique said that he doesn't think that there will be signature lines at cons anymore because of the scare.
Could be. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
They might have to do it a little differently. They might have to do it, you give out a paper and you only come there, when it's your time to get the signature, something like that. But
a lot of these guys make money hand over fist at these conventions, though. So I don't know how much of it will really change. There's a lot of money invested in conventions. There's a lot of agencies that are booking these people. There's a lot of these people are getting a lot of money from this. And I know it's not like a ton of money, but let's be honest, these guys aren't getting a ton of money as it is from the publishers. I mean, they're not, Marvel isn't doling out, Jim Shooter cash these days. So I think that when you factor in that these people need conventions or this type of pricing outlet for their products, I think it will come back. I don't know if it will be exactly the same, but I do believe it'll come back.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to take some kind of precautions. I mean, no, you can't have people on top of each other. That's just going to be too uncomfortable, I think, at least for a while after this going on. And we don't know if this is going to be seasonal or whatnot. So we have to, I think, for at least maybe that's why Key Comics has said that, because since it's going to be, people are going to have to do it business separately, differently. They're going to have to give people bargains in order for them to move inventory, because they can't do it at cons. And that may have been, people who that is their main way of getting cash at cons. You know how there are big dealers that only do cons. At least there was in Florida when I was there. So maybe he's right. Maybe that's those dealers that normally do it that way, they're going to have to give bargains.
There'll always be artists. There'll always be people with crap to sell. So I don't think that those things will really completely go away. But I do believe that there definitely could change. And Dave Enriquez makes another good point. He says, CGC is trying to do creator signings and all this crap. And honestly, when I looked at their creative signings, I think they had one was Capullo, and he doesn't even charge for signatures. Like first 3 are free. So it's like, and yet with CGC, you got to pay them $25 plus all the shipping back and forth. And then you got to get it slabbed. And, it's just, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that so far. And a lot of people are lucky enough to have big shops in their area where artists and writers come to do signings. I don't have anything like that near me. I'd have to really travel for something like that. And usually you don't get that kind of notice. So
look what Patrick Luther Manning is saying there about, he just checked eBay, search comic books. It used to be 2.8 to 3.1 million. Now there are 4.7 million listings.
Yeah, I think
that's a lot of listings. Whoa. So
yeah, I think that there is a chance that this will come kind of full circle, but it's so far right now away from all that. We don't even know where it's going to go. I don't think anyone really knows. We're all speculating, and that's what the dealers are doing too. Yeah. They're saying, honestly, if it were me, if I had a bunch of expensive books to sell, I don't think that this would not be the time,
Right.
But
I know a lot of LCSs have used this time to start really putting all their stuff on eBay for the first time ever.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I did when I bought those 5 books from my LCS. They never did online sales really. So I was just trying to help them out, and boy, was it bad. They sent me like the wrong invoice 3 times. They had me buying a Batman bust. I'm like, what? Like, I'm not like, I bought 5 comic books. How'd that turn into a Batman bust for the wrong price? It was a mess. It took them 4 days to get back to me on the things that I claimed. It was pretty bad, but but I was doing it to kind of help them out because I know that they hadn't done it before. So I was like, well, if they're willing to try, I mean, he's an older guy. He's a veteran. He's not into tech stuff. He's an army grunt, and he likes running his old back issue shop, and that's it, Yeah. And he doesn't want to fool with all that extra stuff, and I don't blame him. But right now, what choice do you have?
Hey, I think C. Woodard's making a good point here, which I was thinking about myself. Now that there are no movies, okay, then we're not going to have those big runs in certain appearances like Black Widow and Shang-Chi. We know those are coming, but they're being delayed. So it may be, what Key Comics may be saying is bearing out that we have to delay it because you know how when now the trailer dropped, so you know that occurred, but the movie has been pushed back. So everything is just being topsy-turvy here.
A lot of the new characters that came out, like Punchline in the Batman, you know, whatever, I guess Detective Comics, but I think it's Batman actually. In the Batman storyline, you know, they had that new character Punchline, and most people assume that she'd be dead by now. But now, because of this stay of I feel like she's in a stay of execution.
Right. So. Yeah, she's kind of in the Phantom Zone now. You know? It's like she's not dead, but we don't see her. You know. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Hey, there's a new channel here I don't recognize. Millions Information Booth. Welcome.
Millions. Welcome. I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Welcome. Glad to have you.
From the UK. I think it's from the UK.
Oh, sorry about that. We're still glad to have you.
Welcome. Good to have you here.
Oh, they're taking it pretty rough right now. That's why, you know.
Yeah. That's why I have this here, because I was thinking and praying for Boris Johnson and my UK buddies. I know that things are really rough over there. So I'm thinking about you guys.
I appreciate that, Roger.
I was getting some good deals on these art books a few weeks ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you know what's been happening when you say getting good deals? What do you mean?
Some of them I've been getting them for like half off of what people have been paying in the past year. I'm not sure if it's just people are holding on to their money or people are just unloading. You know, these are kind of like bigger ticket items. You know, it's at least $60 probably. Could go up to like 150 or something, but
that's beautiful.
And I know that they're kind of a pain to mail as well. Yeah. So sometimes that people to get them out of there faster. But I've been getting addicted to these things. They're so cool.
Oh, yeah.
Just like
you can't go John Bernard. I mean, you could just see that. I could look at that all day long. I mean, that's just beautiful stuff right there. Beautiful stuff. Yeah, those are the proofs. Those are the copies of the proofs there.
Yeah, it can't go wrong there.
Man, that's so nice. That's so nice, man.
But then, you know, after a while, though, this Corona thing just kept going, and it's kind of not as to get stuff in the mail when, you know, your wife's like in the garage for 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you gotta like spray it down. It's like, God.
I don't bring the packages in. I take them out outside, leave them out there. I take the insides out, and you know, if it's something I can sterilize, I do. If not, I let it sit for a few days. Yeah, I don't take any chances over here.
I was using the spray myself, the disinfectant spray. Yeah. And then we let it sit and dry, and the whole routine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just something you got to do. There's nothing. Yeah. It's not too much of an inconvenience. I'm not too upset about it. You know,
we're home anyway. It's not like we're in a rush to go anywhere. So
right.
It's not. It's a bit of an inconvenience, but really, big deal. You know, it's worth it if although the odds are pretty minute that you get something from a surface that's been mailed. It's still worth, to me, it's worth, you know, the peace of mind to do it that way.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is end up having to go to the hospital right now. So
no,
it's not worth it.
Last play. That's why
that's how careful. That's how I feel about people that are out there. Like, I've had a couple of friends that are like, "Oh, this is great. I'm going mountain biking this weekend." I'm like, "Oh my God.
Nope.
Like, really, dude? Really?"
Nope.
I mean, you don't want to. I mean, obviously, you never want anything bad to happen, but you definitely don't want to have any kind of hint of an emergency room time this weekend. If you've not been mountain biking in 5 years and you're going to go dust that crap out of the garage, don't go. Now, if you run every day, hey, don't stop running. But if this is your idea, like you're going to get in touch with nature again, you may not like where nature hits you. So
that's right. I'm going to be like the guy in Final Destination. I don't know if you remember that movie. where, you know, if anything bad could happen to you, it would. So, you know, he locked himself in a room and he took out all sharp objects. He put like padding everywhere. That's how I'm going to be for the next couple of weeks, because I want to make sure nothing happens.
Well, yeah, we're paranoid, a little bit too paranoid sometimes with our kid, because, like, you know, and we getting bored too. So I'm like, oh yeah, let's climb the tree. And I'm like, no, we're not doing anything because it's like the wait just to see a doctor in the emergency rooms around here is like 6 hours or something. So like,
well, it's not just the wait. It's who's there waiting with you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, hey, Simple Simon, how you doing, buddy? All the way from Australia. We had 45 people in the chat here a little bit ago, Bub.
All right. Well, then we got Hialeah Comic Bros here, Man Caves here, JRK Comics, Rob Worst making an appearance in the chat. Thank you, buddy, for showing up here. We got Jambo Comics, Simple. Hey, Jambo, what's going on? That's my buddy Cross. You know, it really gets me, because we were going to meet up this past weekend. I don't know, a weekend prior to this past one, and go to a con, but of course that got canceled. So, oh well. So hopefully when this is all over, we'll get to hook up and get some hunting done.
Werewolf says, I get my mother-in-law to clean the package.
Did you see Hialeah? Hialeah was taking a whiz on it.
Oh yeah, like a jellyfish thing. Yeah, that's a good one.
Just wrong.
That is wrong.
But you know, we got Mark Knapp 68. We got Collecting Chaos. Gretzky still here. Scott Neely and Comic Books NYC Comic Books. We got Matt, the boy who had 7. Steve, I Love Disney and Comics is here. Jackson Roy Kirk, Warlord's here. Oh, Warlord, haven't seen you in a while. Good to have you.
Yeah, how you doing, Warlord?
Dave Enrique is still here, dropping the knowledge in the chat. Thank you, everybody. Gray Man, of course. Luther Manning, we've mentioned. Thank you all. C. Woods, Perry's Comics. Yes, he is surprised I do have a channel. Yeah, we just got that. That's kind of an inside joke between me and Scarpad, and now Perry's getting in on it. So there we go. I think Scarpad was here for a minute. We probably put him to sleep.
I didn't see him on here. But
101 is here.
Rob Worth says, what's rule number 1? Don't die.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one, Rob.
I'm with you.
I'm with you. I think that's a great rule. You know, you know, sometimes you're young, you like, you know, let's go break a rule. Letthat's one you do not want to break.
Hey, and we've got another joinee here.
Hello, everyone.
Dave.
Hey.
Silver Age Dave.
Look at my dishpan hands, guys. This is crazy.
I know. I'm washing them constantly. I know. Yeah. Every time I go outside, I gotta wash. You know.
Yeah. I was literally doing dishes the first half hour.
Oh, you were doing dishes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. That's not a Corona thing.
I'm a contributor. You know.
Well, now that we got 4 people in the chat, we can all shout out Cowabunga. Hey, welcome. Cowabunga. Hey. Only do that when you got 4 people. Well, glad you can make it, Dave. Our topic for tonight is, I guess, no topic, and we were going to talk about organization of comic books.
I still want to talk about it.
He's all right. Good. Knights of Old still wants to talk about it, and I got to tell you, Roger, what's the thing I always say about Knights of Old? Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh, I do not remember, but yeah, it's true though.
Okay, true. That's close. Knights, do you remember what I say about you all the time?
Depends which time.
Very smart, my friend. Very smart.
I think the expression never changes or something.
Yeah, I say watching Knights of Old, which you can't see his face right now, but he's so smooth and he moves so still that it's like watching butter melt. Just like that. That's my Knights of Old impression right there. Oh boy. Well, Silver, what are you doing tonight besides washing dishes?
Yeah, you know what? I had a heck of a day. I went for a little run. I had a couple kids with me on mountain bikes who hit some muddy trails, showered. And the whole time I was thinking I'm gonna listen to this show and hear all these great tips. So I'm waiting for the great tips on organizing.
All right. Well, let's get to the topic then. Seeing as how Dave came in and just gut punched us for not getting to the topic.
No. You know what? Let me add something though, because it's been very interesting, and I wasn't reading along as well as I could have been, but Key Comics Market Watch I think is on the right track when he said it's going to be at least a year. I don't know about you guys, but I've been following eBay, not crazy. I haven't really spent very much money on eBay, but I haven't seen a big difference in prices. I think that's going to come months from now. In fact, I think if people start receiving stimulus checks, if people aren't spending more money, I've actually seen things higher priced the last few weeks than before. So that's just my opinion. But maybe I'm shopping for weirder stuff.
Well, I do think, and I think Knights of Old probably have something to say about this. I don't know if I'll agree with it, so I'll say mine first. But I think that if you're dealing with things that are older, like I haven't seen any price difference in the Golden Age books that I've been hunting. I have found them to be relatively unaffected. Now, you got to remember, I'm hunting low grade, reader copy type books. Now, if you're hunting the very premium books, and you're in the thousands, you might see that price change by a few hundred on any given auction from week to week or month to month. But I think that for the most part, the strong books or the books that everybody's always wanted kind of stuff, those are pretty much holding value from what I can see. And it's the mid-grade to low-grade books that are becoming more liquid now. And also the newer books or the modern keys, variant books are lowering price, it seems to me. And then also any mid-grade key, like a first appearance of Gambit or something, to me is not like a major key, but it's a key. What do you guys see?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, I've seen the kind of the books that are not like super keys. I've definitely seen some deals on that, and I've seen more available. And maybe what Patrick was saying, Luther Manning, that there's a lot more listings on there. I definitely feel like I've seen a lot more things for sale, even on the like CG boards, more. There's been a lot of huge sales, like threads of people selling a lot of stuff on there. And they're selling fast, but and they're not like super high priced or anything. There definitely are some deals, but you get a lot of people now who just need money for bills, and you might not get like the most amazing deal, but they're not going to let it sit there forever. They're just going to be like, fine, I just need the money. It's like ETA Nick says, the weak hands sell first. Yeah. And the ones who can, strong hands who can keep that book up on eBay at the ridiculous buy it now price till the day they die. And then, because they never need any money, then it's just going to be there. So,
yeah. And I think that that's a good point. If you can avoid selling your high dollar books at this time, it may work out for you. But if you need that money, and you're willing, I mean, that's the whole idea of a market, right? Is that the prices aren't fixed, demand changes, the need for cash flow of the dealer changes, and that's why it fluctuates. And that's why that's kind of what makes it a little bit fun too, is being able to, just because I can't get that book today because it's unavailable and overpriced, doesn't mean tomorrow it won't completely switch and become readily available and moderately overpriced. So, what are you gonna do? What you got there, Silver? What are you playing with? You got some trading cards? What you got there?
You know what I do? I was talking about some oddities. I've been trying to put together a set. It'll probably take me my whole life, but these are more of the Superman 1940 Superman gum cards. And,
nice,
cool.
That's there. He's bringing in that circus elephant right there. So some of this stuff, I haven't really seen a price drop on it, but I don't necessarily expect to either, because it's rare. And I think, like you guys are saying, if you're shopping for what everybody else is shopping for, it's going to hold its price. If you go for things that are kind of off the grid, then I think maybe you have a little better chance, but I haven't been able to negotiate on anything.
Yeah. And I think that is a part of it too, is that there's some of those older stuff. Now, of course, DS is saying, hey, I'm seeing, nice $2,000 books go for 1,500. DS is always trying to get, books of that caliber. And I think if you've been watching those books, then yes, obviously, if you guys are telling me that those books are moving, I trust you. But like I said, the type of books I go for, the reader copies, the low grades, they're not there's a difference between price movement and bottom movement. I don't think the top and the bottom is moving equally. So the top end books might be coming down in price and the mid-grade books may be coming down in price, but that doesn't mean the bottom's dropped out. And that's where I'm at. I'm a bottom feeder for Golden Age. I'm a cellar dweller. And that hasn't dropped yet. That's still kind of holding at a price where people are like, I'm not going to take any less than this no matter what,
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of makes sense because, they're more affordable. So when money is tight and if you want to at least have a placeholder, something that you can flip later on, but at least you have it. At least that's my mentality. Maybe that's not, I mean, I know, Bub, that you and I that way are kind of okay. We're okay with low grade because at least we have the comic,
Well,
so
one thing I haven't been seeing in the Golden Age as much, and maybe I'm looking a little too much at it and losing perspective, but to me it seems like the usual flipper type, they'll buy a book and then they'll put it up pretty quickly as soon as they get it from wherever, and they'll try to get like $200, $300, $400 more or something. I'm talking like $1,000 to $2,000 Golden Age stuff, and like I don't see that. I think people are just real like it's not the time to do that right now, to try to see how much you can squeeze extra out of all this, all these people.
Yeah, I think now is just not the time
taking
for
as many chances either,
Well, a lot that happens a lot in the Golden Age too. If you watch the Golden Age books, you literally see the same exact book change hands. It'll go on the CGC message board, then it'll flip to somebody on eBay, and then you'll see new pictures taken of the exact same book in the same case with the same number from CGC on it. And somebody's trying to bump the price, $200, $300.
Yeah.
Like, really? Come on. It's the same book. So I don't know what you call that, but a lot of price escalation goes on in the Golden Age for sure.
Oh,
I like that. That's cool.
That.
Secret words.
Dave has all these great toys.
Oh, yes.
What is that? That thing's huge.
All right. This is a great segue, you guys. That's it. I'm taking control. You guys have done too much. That's it. We've had enough, right? So here we go. We're going to talk about the nope. No, yes, we are. We're gonna Stop it. All right. We're talking about organization, and Dave's got a great way to segue right into that. Dave, what the heck do you do with something that sized?
That's what I was going to ask.
Now, normally I'd love to make a joke at this point and say I'm very used to it. But in this case, I'm going to keep it clean because this is the No Faces chat. You know what? These literally just sit. I have to create my own bag and board for. That's one of those coloring books. I've shown these off before.
That's
and
cool.
They're just really, really cool and very rare. You don't see them, but I happen to have them sitting here. So that I'll create something for. And, these Metarog had his deal yesterday on the fireside stuff. And I had asked the same question about these guys are there bags and boards? And sometimes there's just not. You have to create your own. So you just create your own. You go to YouTube, and generally what I find is anything I don't know, I watch old Captain Strangelife videos, and normally he's already figured it out.
Yep. That's a good resource right there. You're right.
Because I've got a lot of these odd size books too, and I know Roger has a whole set of them. So do you? And of course, there's we
I
have
made
Mighty
one.
Midgets, right? That we've been playing with here lately.
I just made one for this one here, which is a kind of in between the Mighty Midget and a regular comic, you see, and it's a flip top. So I used a Golden Age board and I cut it in almost like 3/5, you know, and then I got a Mylar and wrapped it around the back. So now you have a nice, you know, little board. Now, you know, I didn't have to, I could have cut the Mylar and but I just wrapped it around the back and taped it. And that works just the same. And I did the same thing for this one here, you know, which is another flip top. These are the 2 JCPenney gives away from the 40s. You know, so, you know, you as a comic collector and a comic, you know, curator, you have to, you know, Dave does the same thing. He comes up with all kinds of really great ideas about putting foam spacers and things like that. He showed in a video how he did his comic room, and you know how he did it on the cheap. He didn't like get the wood and, you know, varnish it or anything. He just put it up there because the comics were, it's true. The comics, who's going to look at the siding? Who's going to look at the furring? You're going to look at the comics. You're going to look at all those Hulk 181s, all those Evil Knievels, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I totally agree. And part of the thing is, so now that you have it like this, right, you guys? So now that you've got it, like a tiny little book.
That is a great idea right there, Dave. That is a great idea. Use a coin holder. That's a great idea. Yep.
So now, so now that you have these things, and we're not going to talk necessarily about display, although I know that is part of the organization. That's part of everything, is what you display and what you don't. But for the things that you intend to more or less keep, you know, put up, what do you do with a book that size, Dave? What do you do with a book that size, Roger? I mean, they're not going in the same box.
Nope. Now treasuries, I can't speak to that one. Looks bigger than a treasury, but as far as treasuries go, if you have a magazine size box and you put them horizontally, you can fit treasuries in there, you know, with some space to spare, right? But again, you sort of have to dedicate a box to treasuries because you can't really stick anything else in there.
What do you do? Put them sideways, right?
Correct. You know, with the spines up.
Right.
You know, and then of course you have to make sure that the backing board you have is deep enough that you're not crunching the edges. Okay. So, but it does fit very nicely inside a magazine size, you know, regular magazine size cardboard box. So that's how I do it. You know, there are people who, you know, who stand them up and just in like a deeper box. But I don't like to do that because, you know, if you push a little bit or if it ever falls over, you could get a major creasing there. And those treasuries, you know, once they crease, you can't uncrease those suckers. You know, that's it.
So what do you do with your tiny books?
My tiny books, I use my, you know, like you do, right? I have my custom bags and boards. I make sure that you know, those older ones, as you know, Bub, they're a little bit brittle-ish, right?
Oh yeah.
So you have to make sure that the backing board fits well. Make sure there's plenty of redundancy around the edges. Okay. And when I put them in, I always put them, you know, I put the backing board and the book at the same time, so you don't get any kind of catching, you know. And then once you get it in, you make sure that, you know, no tape at all around it until after it's in the bag, and then you tape it up. And that seems to have worked for me for decades. So far so good.
Scott Neely says small books like digests go on a bookshelf. That's true. I've got a few like that, like the Archie digests and things. Those are on little small shelves. And you know, Knights of Old is up there throwing out books that are all irregular sized. Boy, that's thick too. That's not just big. It's thick.
Yeah, the girth is really.
That's a pulp there. Is that a first print Turtles you have down there?
It's not a first print, no.
Okay.
But
that's a third.
This is how I do some of the pulps. Is I'll get a big Mylar bag, DS's favorite.
Oh boy.
And then I'll put one of those
look at that foot. Oof.
Backing boards in there.
Oh, I see what you did. Yeah, I see what you did.
Those clear plastic ones?
Yeah,
I
I
read
don't have too many of them, but they look. I like them with the pulps. Somehow I like that. And then I brought these out just because they were the annoying types of bags I had to like create myself.
Yeah, they have that extra hole at the top edges, right? There's
Yeah,
such a tiny lip left.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But-
had the same trouble with my Fudgetoid. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I had the same trouble. Yep. That's a cool little set you got there, Mike. That really is cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, that looks good. I like that.
And
I
I
have to
brought
find
this out for you, Bub, just because you said
Oh, you were
had-
talking about that today.
Yeah, I
needed
was
one
that in my
too.
whole video.
Yep. Yeah. You
Yeah,
left
I've
out
definitely seen a
Magneto in
lot
your
of
video,
those
by the
for
way.
sale
Bub.
lately.
Hey, if you want that cleaned, pressed, and turned into a reprint, send it to me.
I was gonna say that will never make it back to you, Mike. That will be gone. that he'll find some like super low grade thing and he'll say, "Oh, this is what you sent to me," you know. He'll marry the back cover from some, you know, Millie the model of the same month, you know.
Oh, you know it.
But I wanted to ask about the organization because
Okay.
you know, and look through history since I've been collecting comics, I feel like I've organized and reorganized my comics like a million times. So I wonder if it's just a thing we do. If we're not buying or reading, we're just playing with our books, and part of that is just organizing them in different ways. And lately, you know,
A year.
this is how I've been doing it by
Never seen anyone do it by year. That's
Yep.
interesting. So what
That is
drove
interesting.
you to come up with the idea of doing it by year?
Oh, we lost
I
him.
don't
No,
know.
he's
Well,
back.
I've been like trying to weed my collection down to around 500, and it's been pretty tough. But I don't know. And then like because I have so few, I only have like maybe 7 short boxes or so, and I don't know. I don't know why I do it. Like, I feel like
I only
no,
know
I
one
part of
guy
it.
that does that. Other than Knights, I only know one guy. He entered my 100 subscriber contest a few years ago, and he kept and he had a big collection, major collection, and he kept them all by month and year.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, you know
Wow.
what's crazier?
Yeah.
Before this, I had them in groups by when I bought them. And that's if you want to
That's
challenge.
like the old
that-
Silver Age Dave method, because Dave used to
Yeah.
keep them by where he bought them and who they
By
bought,
who I
who he
bought
bought
them
them from.
Yeah, it was crazy.
The closest
Yeah, I
I
used to
did
keep all the
keep
collections
one
together,
section
yeah.
like that though. I have this little box here. This is my from a certain like kind of the
G.I.
first
Joe.
year or so of buying comics. I kept it in this. So like I got
Cool.
these things. I
Polybag sets. Oh,
I
that's
used to
cool.
buy these. I got these as
Hey, look
yeah.
at that. That
And,
Avengers one is kind of hard to find.
just a bunch of like
Are those all polybagged? No.
they were
Oh, they
but
were?
these were ones I did get in 3-packs.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
And it's
Very
just
cool.
I don't know, it's kind of fun to see some of the books
What,
like
what is that paperback you have there on the back there?
He showed it. Just pull it back
Oh,
over.
yeah.
Oh, the Conan.
The Conan. Cool.
Nice.
That's a Barry Smith reprint cover there. Very
But I
nice.
did have like my whole collection kind of in groups like that, like because I had I went to a bunch of Comic Cons when I was a kid, San Diego Comic Con in like the mid '80s, and I can still remember some of the books I bought there, so I had like a little section for that. But you know, I like looking at the year. You know, I get into the history behind comics, and it's kind of fun to see like what's going on. And like 1971, you got like, so what do we got? 1971, you got Neil Adams was starting to do some stuff at Marvel. Yes, Avengers run, and what do we got? Some interesting covers.
So is that all the ones you have from those years are in that box there, or is that just Marvels? Or
that this is probably it for these years. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
it gets
okay.
in the 80s. There's more than Marvels, but
Oh, okay.
mostly this Marvel. But see, there's not too much variety for me in those
Well,
years.
you know, if you have those few comics, then that actually it works. You know, because
Yeah.
you know if you know more or less what year it came out, you know if it was a Neil Adams Marvel, you know it was probably early 70s. You know, so
1968. That was a good one.
that was that's all the reboots. Yeah, not the reboots, but the #1 issues from Tales to Astonish, Tales of Suspense, Strange Tales.
I think Roger, you're making a really good point, and we should discuss it just a little bit. And that's the idea that when you have, it depends what kind of collector you are, what kind of organization you probably should be veering towards. If you're a run collector, that would be an absolute nightmare.
Yep.
I mean, I don't see how that could be anything but a nightmare if you're,
No.
unless you're collecting 2 titles of the same character and you're trying to keep a continuity going, then fine. But that would be so difficult for a run collector. I mean, oh my God. It would be easy to file though. I mean, all you gotta do is look at the indicia or the cover and you'd be able to file it, right?
True. But you know, again, if you want to actually read a run, forget it. You know, not forget it, but it would be a lot more difficult. I mean, I don't know. Silver Age Dave just organized his room. I don't know how exactly. I think he did it alphanumeric, but you know, to me, that makes the most sense to me for it to be able to find comics is alphanumeric.
Well, when I first started doing mine, I started with I started by publisher first, then by run. Meaning, if I had a big Wolverine run or a big X-Men run, then I would do that, right? In a separate box. And then all my books that were outside of that run, I would put in order, in alphanumeric order inside the publisher run. But the only problem that I found was that what happens when you can't remember a detail about a book. And in my early collecting, I was having trouble. I could remember kind of a couple of storylines, but then I started separating it by character. So I had all my Wolverine books in one box. Well, then what do you do with your X-Men books? Well, I was like, well, really, I'm only reading X-Men because of Wolverine. So, okay, I'll put them in the Wolverine box. Well, obviously that didn't last long, right?
Right.
And then you're like, well, what do I do with my team-ups? Like literally Marvel team-up, right? So then I started separating those by whoever was the first titled character. So if it was Spider-Man and Human Torch, well, then it was Spider-Man. It was in the Spider-Man box. But I started finding that the more I know it's bad. The more stuff that I pulled aside and made separate arrangements for, the more I had to rely on my own memory. And that's when things started falling apart. Because the more books I got, my memory wasn't good enough, you know?
Yep.
So
yeah, I see where you're going with that, and that's the kind of thing that I've thought about it, but you know, but again, characters sometimes jump. Like you could say, okay, Avengers, have an Avengers box, Cap, Thor, Iron Man, right? But you know, what if they join the Defenders? What if they make another team? And then what? Then are you going to cut it off at some point? So you're going to have Cap over here and Cap when he joins another team. So, you know, I found that alphanumeric, you can't go wrong in the fact that you can always find it. You know, maybe it might be deep, and maybe you might have to have, you know, 20 boxes before you get to, you know, the exact issue, but it'll be, you know, you can find it because you know A, B, C, D, E, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to choose. Was it Roger? Wasn't the series JLA versus Avengers where they had 2 books under that title and then 2 were under Avengers versus JLA?
Yeah.
Yes. You know, the same thing happens with West Coast Avengers and Avengers West Coast.
Yep.
Yes.
That'll drive you freaking crazy.
Well, and that happens. Is it the New Teen Titans where they move around a little, and you just have to decide where they're going to be.
Yep. If that's the case,
the other thing I do is I will put a cardboard slat in. Like if I'm going to remove something, I'm going to put in a cardboard slat and say, find it, you know, wherever. So you know where to look for it if it's going to be filed somewhere else.
Yeah, that works. So what do you do? All right. Well, then we've kind of transitioned a little bit because now we're talking about recalling where the books are, not just where you're going to put them.
Yeah.
I think at some point a collection grows to the point that alphanumeric is almost necessary, right?
Absolutely.
And
Well,
I think that
it's certainly easier.
yes. And that so now what we're talking about are the caveats to that, or really the slight inconveniences that come with that, like when you have split titles.
Yep.
Another problem that I have are sets. For instance, the amalgam set, right? So I have a complete set of all the amalgam titles between Marvel and DC.
Yep, me too.
But because I've trying so hard to stick with the alphanumeric filing system, I have them spread out by title. And I can't remember those titles because honestly, they're not memorable enough.
No,
you know?
no.
Like
no,
I
because
remember that there's a mix
they're
of
amalgams. They're amalgams. Yeah. I'm like Scott Neely. I keep all amalgams together under amalgam. That's
you
how
keep them under a publisher name.
I keep them under like as if it were a publisher, correct? Because it actually is. It's a collaboration between DC and Marvel.
Right.
So I consider that like a brand new category right there. So I keep my DC Marvel collaborations, including like the All Access, and the DC versus Marvel. All those are together in their own little area.
Wow. So that breaks from the alphanumeric.
That does break. I was going to say exactly that. There are exceptions to the rule, right? Because some don't make sense even alphanumerically.
So there's one.
That's one right there.
There's sets right there. What's another one you got for us?
Me?
Yeah, or anybody.
Oh, well, like me, like my promotional comics. I don't put those in alphanumeric because I get just like the amalgam. There's no way I would remember everything. So I keep all promotional comics as their own publisher. And so that's, and I keep those in alphanumeric, but by the type of comic book. So this Captain America goes into my promotional comic under C. This one, New Teen Titans, go under N.
Wow.
Etc. So I do have exceptions to the rule, but the regular, runs, regular size comics, I have a Marvel A to Z, a DC A to Z, and then I have the Charltons, and then all miscellaneous publishers A to Z.
Here's a great one from the chat. We've got Biggie Shack. What's going on, Biggie Shack? He said, am I the only one that categorized by value? I would say not, because I know a lot of people, I don't anymore. I used to, though, who have a key book run. They'll just have a box of keys. And I would say that that's kind of categorizing by value as well.
Yep. We also got a question here from Steve. I love Disney and comics. So how about a series that changed the name during the series? Do you put them together or separate them?
Well, that's what we're talking about. So that's the West Coast Avengers, Avengers West Coast problem. So what do? I separate them. Well, actually, I don't. So I use, now we're transitioning a little bit, but I use the CLZ app, and I know a lot of people are familiar with that, but it's an app on your phone and your computer or both that helps you to organize your collection, and it keeps a digital kind of catalog of your collection, right?
Right.
So what they do is that sometimes you'll have mislistings, but for the most part, they'll be the same title, and then they'll keep it in that volume.
Right.
And so the name will change, but it stays in the same volume. And as long as it's in the same volume, then they'll allow it to run from whatever that volume was originally named.
Right. That's what I do as well. Yeah.
But like, for instance, was the original X-Men always the Uncanny X-Men by the Indicia?
Nope.
But yet when you go to the app, they use Uncanny X-Men for the entire run.
Yep. Uncanny didn't come up until much later. What is that you got there, Dave?
You guys are smarter than I am. So what I have to use cheat sheets. So I use these dividers through my whole collection, but there's certain places where, frankly, I go in and I take notes on them. And like the question Disney and Comics asked, what do you do when they change names? Well, sometimes it changes names, but it still follows in line in my collection. So I'll use the divider to show, okay, so this is Adventures of Superman, formerly Superman, and then I give the numbers as I'm flowing through, so I can kind of follow along. And you know, another example of it is like I'll use it as a learning tool sometimes. So let me put that down. So like Marvel Superheroes, formerly Fantasy Masterpieces 1 to 11, and so this is in. But if I'm looking for number 1 to 11, I'm like, oh, I'm missing those. Well, I know I have to go here to find them, or you know, if it's not me, if it's one of my kids or whoever, there's kind of something to piece it together.
Okay, so you use reference
put that
notes
at the front of where the separated run starts.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So this is my divider for Marvel Superheroes, you know, under Marvel. But
that's pretty smart. That's pretty smart, you know, Dave.
Yeah. Well, and it starts with number 12, and there's a lot of series that do that.
Yep.
Where, you know, you're not going to find, you know, the issue before, but the name doesn't make sense. It's just so wildly different. You know, when it changes over.
Yeah, like Marvel's collector's item classics became Marvel's greatest comics.
Yep.
Wow.
They love to do that. For collectors, those are nightmares, but you know, they love to do those kind of changes to sort of alter what they're trying to accomplish there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to answer what BUB'S was talking about earlier, you know, the size of the collection does make a difference, because I would have never done this 20 years ago. I didn't have enough of things that were transitioning over. It didn't make sense to do this. So there did come a point where I did this because it made it easier for me. You have to decide when it's the best time for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. That's a good idea, though. I like that you have, it's in a sense, you have sort of like, you know how in comics they'll have indexes, and then they'll say, you know, Captain America, and then in quotations, let's say Tales of Suspense, because it took over the numbering. You're essentially doing the same thing, except yours is just for your collection. It's referenced in that, under that heading. So that's pretty smart.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I like that. That's a good idea.
Yep. And it helps to remind you too. After a while, I'm sure you just know it by heart, you know. So that's pretty good. I like that a lot. What about you,
all I have to know by heart is Roger's phone number.
Hey, tell you something, Dave. You have the easiest phone number to know by heart. I promise you that. This guy he knew somebody at the phone company. There's no doubt about that.
I have low friends in high places.
Low friends in high places.
Nice.
Oh man.
Knights of Old, I see you have a second box pulled out. Cool. So my question is, we've had this bouncing around the chat as swell. Obviously, if you're separating books by date, then you must also be separating them naturally by, you know, age. We got a couple of people in the chat saying that they definitely separate their books, their golden and their silver age books, away from the rest of the collection. So my question for you is, how do you remember when you're looking for a book and you know the book, is the first thing that comes to your mind the year that book was printed? Or do you, what do you do?
If you know it by year, that's something I pride myself on, because I just love to look at the whole timeline and chronology of the comics. So it always, in a way, it makes me feel like I'm helping myself learn more by putting it where it needs to go. And after a while, you just kind of remember. But also, you know, another reason I had this crazy thing was, for a while, I was going to get every month, one comic from every month from Marvel Comics, like from like 1960, whatever, like Fantastic Four, and all the way to like 92 or 3 when I stopped collecting.
Did they still have 12 months back then, or was it less months?
They were long months.
Mayan calendars. You only knew what day it was when the sun was shining.
But you know, I really enjoy having it like this. I think it's gonna stay like this for a while because one thing I don't like about the doing it by alphabetical is like stuff like Marvel Premiere, like this. Like I think I have like one or two of these books in the title. I don't want to make like a card for that. Like sure, if I had the whole run, that would make sense. But like that's just annoyance for me when I have like a bunch of these like things like all butt up against each other because there's like only one or two comics in it.
Yeah. Well, what I do for myself is that I will make I buy these, and here's a hot tip if things ever come back to normal. And of course, you can go to Silver Age Dave's website, and he has a template for how to carve these out of boxes that you steal from hobos from under the bridge, just for his savings sake.
Oh man!
But other than that, I buy these by the bulk, and I want to say that it was like 64 of these corrugated cardboard dividers for like $10 or something like that. It's super cheap. So like definitely not worth my time to make it if I can buy it that cheap,
Well, you could tell where I got mine.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But one thing I really love about this, though, is I was teaching my daughter how to write her numbers. So she was writing, and so that's another reason why I like it too. So it's kind of
cool. Is that her writing?
Yeah, all that is. All
now
that's special.
That's very nice.
Where can we order some of those?
Yeah, that's
special. So anyway, these here, well, just to your point, Knights, is that this is all I do. So numbers and then letters, and that's it. So I don't put it like you were saying per title. I don't make another tab for every title. I used to. And in fact, in the garage, I have a whole like 200 backing boards with title cards on them because it got ridiculous. So I quit doing that. And the only thing that I do now are these types. And then, of course, I'll also do like I have a long run of Wolverine. So I do have a couple of dividers in there to signify the volumes, because there's 7 volumes now. So, I try to keep it that way. But other than that, I'm not doing that. It's maddening. I've tried it before. It's way too crazy.
Wolverine and Moon Knight are two of the more complicated titles to organize because there are so many of them.
Yeah. So even by
one more cool one is and this is like an example of when it gets tough, when it is a lot of books. Like in '86, I was buying off the spinner racks at the like local 7-Elevens and like supermarket. So it starts getting pretty big. But at the same time, it's really fun to kind of look through here and remember like, oh yeah, I bought that. I remember, grabbing that off the spinner rack and this one. And then I got my 1986 Comic-Con.
Oh, nice.
Book that you get when you go to the con.
Hey, that's like a little symbiote action on there.
That was cool.
Got my Joe's. I was getting these in the mail subscription.
Wow.
And like this, I remember. Oh God, when that.
Oh boy.
Crap came out. And all these Secret Wars 2 crossover.
Yep, I got those too. Mike. I got those too. Yep. I
then,
was working at the shop back then.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and then I remember like seeing some of the like I didn't buy this when it came out. I bought it later, but it's neat to like put that in the timeline.
That is cool. That is cool.
I mean, when I was buying those
for a manageable amount,
this was like my universe. I wasn't aware of even like Dark Knight and Watchmen at that time, but it's cool to have like it makes Secret Wars 2 look even more stupid, knowing that Dark Knight was out at the same time.
No comparison there whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, and of course, I would be prideful too if I was able to remember the years and the dates that well. I think that it's super easy to file a book that way. But for me, I just don't think I would be able to recall a book quickly. You know, Matt, he might still be in the chat, does that Kamigori show where you got
Right.
30 seconds to pull a book out of your collection. I would completely fail with your system nights. If I didn't know those books by heart, I would just flunk out. I'd be like, X-Men #3. Wait, hold on. I had to
What year was that?
Yeah,
Especially when you're under
target
pressure
shooting,
like that.
in target shooting, we call walking it in. It's like you shoot here and you miss, and you shoot there and you miss, and you just shoot there and you shoot there and you shoot there.
Closer,
Boom, you got it,
Yeah.
So that's what I would be doing. So it'd be tough.
Hey, so there was a great question Scott Neely asked about Action Comics and Adventure Comics and Superman, and I saw there was a little bit of some different people in the chat kicking in. And what I did when I started organizing an extreme mess, and I talked about this in my big video I did last week, I kept all the Superman stuff under Action. I kept anything Batman was under Batman. And then over time, as I would run out of space in the front part of the alphabet, I would separate things off as I found more and more, Superman titles and more detective comics. Eventually, I separated that stuff out, and it was easier for me because I know if I'm looking for detective comics, I go to the letter D. And it's not, I'm not that way with every title yet, but eventually that's the direction I'm going to. I think if you're planning to overhaul your whole collection, you need to decide in the beginning what you're after. And for me, what I was after was as close resembling this as possible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So you have a reference book essentially too. So
yes,
that makes sense. I mean, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of like Bub was talking about the CLZ app.
Yes.
Right. So you have a reference to go by. Yeah, that makes sense.
I do like that. I really do. And I also, we're talking about various ends of the spectrum here as far as sizes of collections. You guys know I have a hard limit of 3,000 comics on my collection. But, Roger, obviously, what are you at 3 times that? Are you at around 9?
About almost 10 now. Yeah.
And Knights, what size of collection are you estimating?
600 books, maybe 700 tops.
So that would be the fewest amongst the 4 of us. So definitely, you can almost do whatever the heck you want as far as managing 600 books, right?
Yeah.
Like
600.
You can get a different label and put it on the back of each. You can color code them at that point.
Yeah, that's 4 short boxes. You can juggle those things. I mean, that's no big deal.
And Silver, are you at about 40,000 right now, Silver?
I know for a fact I'm over 1,000.
Wait a minute. Everybody, calm down. This is important. We're getting breaking news from Silver Age Dave. He, in fact, is over. What did you say again?
Congratulations.
I'm over 1,000 comics now so far.
Over 1,000 so far, and counting, I assume.
Yeah, they're very heavy.
He's got more subs than comics. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll believe that one.
No, I honestly, I have no clue. I thought for the longest time I had 20,000 comics until I started organizing them, and I blasted through 20,000 like nobody's business, and I had a lot left. So I'm over 30,000, but unfortunately, there's only so many that can fit in this room. And the ones that can't fit in this room are still somewhat organized, but those piles, I don't get to those boxes, to keep track of them. Someday I'd like to have a bigger room that I could say, okay, here's how many are in here. Yeah,
I think that would be cool. So while we're talking about it, I'm going to go ahead and show this. I'm going to share this real quick. So for those of you who don't know what we've been mentioning on the CLZ app, that's what this is. This is actually a browser page from Chrome or whatever. So that's what this is. But basically, it'll list all the books by series. And of course, you can change what you want to choose. This isn't going to be a big CLZ tutorial here. But just to give you an idea, And you can also search by title. So someone was saying, you know, well, what about your Detective Comics and your Batman books? How do you separate those? Well, if I just type in Batman, it'll bring up a crap ton of books that have Batman either in the title or in the description. So that's helpful. Now, where do you come into problems? Sometimes their information is incorrect. Sometimes the description is not filled out. Sometimes the artist information is incorrect. So like if I put in Adam Hughes here and I get a bunch of Adam Hughes books, you know, I can't scroll all the way through this because some of you this is a family show, but I should be able to get till about the C's and then I just stop. But it's nice, and you can kind of see the blown up version of the artwork and stuff like that. So it's very helpful to know what you have, where you have it. Then the other thing that happens is that when you pull up a title, let's say I want to see Action Comics Volume 1. So these are all my Action Comics books, and it'll tell me at the top right here, which I know is difficult to see, but let's see if we can blow that up a little bit. So right up there at the top, it'll tell you I've got number 1, number 456, number 685, 706, and 800. And that's it. You know, so that's obviously not a lot. So, but it kind of helps me to know if I'm in a shop or somewhere where I can check, then I can look at it. Bitbiter saying the desktop version has custom sort filters. This does as well. The cloud version does as well. I paid for the app on my phone, and then it comes free with this cloud version, so I just do that. But anyway, that's the idea. So but for instance, for X-Men, right? So if I click on X for X-Men and go down, there's X-Men Volume 1. Well, as you guys know, that's not really, I mean, if I was looking for Uncanny X-Men, it's not going to be filed under X. It's going to be filed under U. Even though we know that the first issues of X-Men are actually X-Men, not Uncanny X-Men. So, you know, so the app kind of makes some decisions for you. You can change it and force it to do what you want it to do. They're all editable, and also it's editable as far as how it searches and how it recalls information and how it places the information in there. But it's very useful. The only thing I don't like is being somewhat reliant on technology, you know, because you know how that is. If those things fail, they fail, you know. So, but anyway, so I just want to show that real quick for those of you who didn't know what that was. A lot of people in the community use that. A lot of collectors use it. So right now it tells me I have 2,452 comics and 45 on the way. So, you know, that's what's going on there.
Can I show you something on my screen?
Yeah, let me pull it real quick. All right, I'm ready for you.
Let me know when it's
up, buddy.
All right, so this is one thing that got me hooked on the whole like when it came out kind of thing was this site right here. It's called Mike's Amazing World of Comics, and you go to a newsstand and it'll show you, or you could just type in a book. Like it's fun to do that. Like, so I remember buying this, or I got this book for free, and it's some like all promo thing, and but I would go in here and I'd be like, what else was on sale? And then it shows me everything that was on sale that month on the rack. So it's kind of fun to look at that, you know, and then
it is fun. Yeah.
And you can like find your birthday
books,
put in your birthday and what came out your birth month, and you could go way back. You know, I like to do these old stuff like 1939. You know, look at that, barely anything.
Wow.
And you can sort by different publishers, like just Marvel and.
Yeah, imagine if you picked up every comic that month and year. There, Detective 27. Jeez.
Look at that, Marvel in 41, only 3, and then you can. Let's see, 92. All right. Here we go. Boom.
Cool. Yeah, that is a good. That is a good site. Very good site.
I've used that site only to constantly I find out what books came out in during my birth month, and my wife's and my son's. That's the only time I've used that site, is to find that out. It was pretty.
And you can do this sort by. You could do on sale or cover dated if you want, and so that's fun.
Of course, the on sale is an estimate because not every title came out, at the same time. They were staggered by weeks. Yeah,
it's down to the day on this thing, and they
go
try
down
to
the
use
day.
it
Wow, cool.
From the Library of Congress. I guess they've been getting dates. Sometimes they're off, but they keep updating. It's impressive.
That is impressive. That's impressive. Because I only see the month up there, so that's why I thought it was just by month.
Yeah. Well, if you go into each comic, so like this Daredevil 303, you got over here, it's got the cover, and then also the on sale date, and then you could look at like the series info, and it'll list the cover and the release date, and it's really fun. You could find like some interesting thing in history and see what at that same time, or like look at the month Wolverine's first appearance came out, and see what all the other, how odd that was, compared to all the rest of the stuff that was out. Anyway,
that's cool. That is cool. And he's even got the annuals.
Oh yeah!
Oh, look at that! Yowza!
Inception.
Look at Dave getting his show on. Look at this. Yeah. I love the remold.
Right.
That's gorgeous.
Cool. That's cool. 83 of 199. Look at that.
Yep.
Even like limited edition.
That's neat.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
see, that's the kind of stuff, Dave, that when I was going to come see you last month, that I hope to wiggle out of your collection for you.
That could have been on your screen right now. I was going to trade that for moonshine.
Hey, I've still got the moonshine. It's still chilling for you, buddy. Look at that. Mike Zeck signature. What are we pulling out? Zeck Sigs now? All right.
He's got one of the nicest.
Yeah, he's got a beautiful sig.
Oh, look at that one. Big O.
Yeah, looks like Spidey's dropping a deuce there.
Ooh.
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 And Zek will, if you pay him an extra $2, he'll give you a COA and sign that too. It's like 2 SIGs for the price of $1 plus $2.
Plus $2.
He's when I saw him back in the early '90s, he was a super nice. He's still super friendly.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah,
he is. I think the last time. Like I've met him, I think 3 times. And the first 2 times he was super nice, super friendly. And the third time he was grouchy. So maybe he just drinks the wrong coffee or something.
I bet you I have the oldest SIG here of anybody. Because I got his back in 1987.
Oh, nice.
Ooh. That's Secret Wars 1. Yeah, he said he told me I didn't want a signature, but he took the comic from me. He goes, I don't really want a signature, and I goes, oh, I'll tell you where you want it, and he put it there. and he gave me the comic. He just
that works.
So.
But who has the bigger O, Zek or
Simonson?
Yeah, Simonson.
Yeah, I would say probably. I think Zek does. I think Zek's O is bigger.
I think, is it older Zek has a bigger O, or is it newer Zek?
They both have big O's. I like that. He had the convention, that G.I. Joe. He sells those at the conventions.
You know who gets grumpy about signing is Larry Hama of G.I. Joe.
What for?
I don't know why. I mean, he's just kind of grumpy guy, but I told him, like, could you sign the inside? Because that's kind of like how the old school guys used to do it. And he's like, no one tells me where to sign. I sign where I want, blah, blah, blah,
Wow.
So, I mean, it was fine. Like, he put a good spot, but it was just like, chill out, dude.
Yeah. Hey, anybody can have a bad day. You know what I mean? Hey guys, I gotta get going. I gotta park the dog.
No, don't go, Roger.
I gotta park the dog. She's over here asking me.
Well, okay. Well, before you go, I just want to
Mhm.
make sure that we give you a chance to. I can't. There's so many boxes down here now. I'm trying to find the right one. All right, there you are. So I just want to give you a chance. Tell us what you got going on your channel, and tell us if there's anything, what's busting out on your channel.
All right. Well, first of all, please, everybody, remember to sub everybody up here in the chat. We had like 40 some people here. I got some new channels that I subbed up during this stream. Let's remember to show some love to everybody in the chat supporting the No Faces chat, BUB'S, all one of us, right? That's out of the way. Tomorrow, I plan on doing my top 50. I was tagged by Dratcher's Comics and Things. You know how that top 50 tag, I guess, is going around.
Yeah.
So he wanted me to do it. I already did it a couple of years ago. So I'm doing my top 50 old school variants tomorrow. So instead of doing top 50 stories or whatever, my favorite top 50 old school variants are coming tomorrow, hopefully.
Nice.
And then, of course, I got the roundup, which Silver Age Dave, I inherited from him on Thursday.
Shrewd move, Dave.
Beautiful job.
And I don't know, and maybe Saturday I'll have a support video depending on if there's something to do. So that's what's up with me. So I will take my farewell from you guys. Mike, Dave, Bub, great to be on here with you. Chat, you guys are, as always, are the superstars of the community. We wouldn't be doing this without you. It'd just be, the four of us, on a four-way call, that kind of thing. So you guys are great. Thank you for being here. Everybody be blessed and be back next week. Bye, guys.
Good night, Roger.
Good night.
All right. Well, good. Glad he, of course, could make it as usual. Roger, the staple of this chat. Glad to have you guys here as well, though. And so we want to keep talking about this. What about books that you have? Knights, do you do any graded books? Do you have any graded books?
Yeah, some Golden Age stuff, but that's about it.
So
and I have,
yeah,
every now and then I'll get an odd thing. Like this is probably the only modern book I've got. Just sometimes you really like a book and you're like, how can I like it more? Well, I guess I could get a 9.5. And something like this isn't very expensive, so I guess that was kind of cool. But
I understand.
I have another copy that I read, so it doesn't matter. But I have like old stuff. I keep certain things I just keep in the slab.
Do you organize those in any way?
Not really. Well, they're either at the bank or not place someone would find them probably, because I only have like, I don't know, 10 or 20 of them. So yeah, I don't have to worry about that. But God, that would have boxes of graded comics. Those things are heavy as it is.
Yeah, and some people use those big plastic, those heavy plastic ones too now, the BCW crates, if you will.
It does blow though when you get a larger size slab and you have to move it around with the regular size slabs.
Yeah, Silver's showing one off there.
There you go.
Yeah, boy, that's rough, isn't it? That looks like that's getting in your way over there, Silver. If you want to send that to me, I'll help you.
That's a beauty there, huh?
That's a beaut. All that black on there, that's fantastic.
There he's getting a haircut.
That's awesome.
See, if you guys would sell, 60,000 comics at $5 a pop, then you can turn it into something like this.
Good.
Very nice.
Are those twinsies?
Yeah.
Double W's. I like that. I'll just keep my low grades and make my mortgage.
It's low grade.
No, that's not
Yeah,
low grade. That's mid grade
trust me.
golden age, in my opinion. To me, anything 2.5 or up is mid grade for golden age. I know that that's not a technical. No one's going to agree with me on that, but that's in my mind. That's where I see them.
I agree.
Well, Dave, you just did a major room remodel, right?
Yes, sir.
And you had I think somebody in the chat had put that you had a 3-hour long video on it. I don't think it was that long. I thought it was almost exactly an hour, actually.
I kept it as close to an hour as I could. And I know there's things I left out of there, but, for years I've been making little tip videos and I couldn't figure out how to do it in less than that. And at first I was just going to have parts, like one on designing, one on building, one on organizing, but there was too much carryover. And so that's what it worked out to be is an hour. Yeah.
Well, that was great. I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was interesting how even though you had, and I know I said we weren't going to talk too much about display, but you have so many books that are all categorized and filed away, if you will, right?
Yes.
But you have just as many books on display as probably some people have in their entire collection. I mean, we got nights with 600 books. Would you say you got 600 books on display?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know, because some of these I have, multiples. Like behind Lone Ranger, I have an Action Comics, and so some of the display racks are multis. They're multi-deep. But no, I don't know if I have 600. Honestly, I don't know. I don't pay a lot of attention. The displays are the things that I enjoy seeing, and so what I try to do is I try to label books. If they're a display book for me, I generally, it's either because they have an economic value or an emotional. Like this guy up here. This is one of my display books. That's one of my childhood books. I love this. When that cartoon, I think it was this came out when the cartoon series did. I think it came out at the same time. So not everything on the wall is going to be a high value, but yeah, there's a lot of them. So what are you asking? Like, what do I do? Like, if I had to put all the boxes away, would I refile them all?
Well, it's like, I guess what you do is that you probably, when you're trading out, right? So you've got all these books on display. For me, generally, I have a wall of display books that are slabs. I have some that are raws, kind of like you in sections.
Mm-hmm.
But
Sure.
When it comes time, don't you just get a wild hair and decide you got to file all those and put a new batch out?
Yeah, I've done it before. Last time someone came around with the top 50, man, that's a lot of work. I happen to see Slim Comics. A lot of you guys have done the top 50, and I really love those. I happen to watch Slim Comics today. He had a really great top 50 he put out, and it's a lot of work. Anyone who wants to do one of those, I've had a couple people ask me to do one, and it's like, man, first of all, I could just really walk around the room and just be like, oh, hey, look at this stuff you guys have already seen. That would be the easy way. But to dig into the collection I have a great deal of respect for anyone who does it, because you got to put those things back away. They don't refile themselves. Yeah.
Let me ask you this to both of you. Do you have a comic weigh station is what I call it? Like when books, like for instance, like I said, over the next week, I'm probably going to have about 45 books come in. What do you do when you have those books? Like I have them in piles. I usually separate them by haul video, and I'll say, I'll make a video on these. I'll make a video on these. And so I don't put them into the collection proper until they've been filmed, if you will.
I put my books I'm going to sell in like a box in another room.
In another room? Oh, yeah. Man, you didn't even get to enjoy it while you have it?
Well, if you forget kind of what was even in there, you go to look at that box, and later when you put on eBay, then you know that you made the right choice to decide to sell.
That's true. That's a good point. So what about you, Dave? What do you do with your books as they first come in?
Well, I'm not going to say it in truth. I'm fortunate that I have multiple locations that I can use. First off, I own an office, and I own extra office space that I have converted over the years to be different things. And so I have a receiving area. Any mail that I receive doesn't come to my house; it goes to my office. And so I have kind of a receiving area, and I have a processing area, and overflow I have, in a few different places for the collection. So I'm not saying it's a good problem. It's not a good problem, but I'm able to keep things separated till they can eventually get in here. But generally when they get in here, they're coming in here to be actually filed back in.
I see.
As far as selling, I haven't sold many books ever, but there was a point a few years ago where I put some books on eBay, and I thought, oh, I'm going to put all those in a short box, and then I'll know where they're at. And then I misplaced them, and I had to take all the listings down
Oh
because
my
I
gosh.
didn't know where any of the books were. They were buried, and I just found them like a few months ago.
Wow. That's something. Well, I'm glad that overall you found them. Are you going to put them back up for sale?
Yeah, I don't know. Eventually, I kind of like them. You know how it is. Pennies from heaven, right?
Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, I got to tell you that when I'm bringing in books and getting them separated and getting them ready for filming, that whole process will result in multiple books in multiple places for sometimes a week or longer per stack. Right now, I've got 4 stacks in the living room waiting to be processed. So that gets a little dicey because the cat's running around, got kids, So it gets a little rough. But but I do have kind of piles of books laying all over the place. And then as usual, I have slabs which don't fit in the comic cabinet, and I have treasuries which don't fit in the comic cabinet. So I mean, stuff like that. Well, here, I'll show you real quick. Let me see if I can. How do I? All right, here. So just real quick, like there's the comic cabinet. So like you can see the top there. There's my treasuries and top loaders sideways. There's a big stack of slabs with a slab in front of it, right? And then up here I keep like art supplies and blank like sketch covers, because there's another point of organization. I don't put sketch covers inside the regular cabinet because I want them to be readily available. I want to know how many I have all the time, and I want to be able to pluck them and take them to a convention to get sketches done. So there's a couple other knickknacks and things. There's some bullets. But here's the cabinet proper. And you can kind of see how it works. And it's floor to ceiling. It's got that one space because that's where I pulled the Mike Zeck Secret Wars from. So that's where that was. And then when you open it, you've got all these books to deal with.
That's great.
And
I like that cabinet.
So alphanumeric on that, And one of the only problems is that because of the way that the cabinet's designed, in order to not be too top heavy at any time, you can only open one drawer at a time. It has a locking mechanism that stops you from opening all or even 2 of them at a time. So I always have to have one closed in order to open the other one. And so when I'm refiling or shuffling books, sometimes that becomes a bit of a pain. But other than that, and you can see they're getting pretty tight. And that's because at 2,500 books, that's about as tight as the cabinet will hold comfortably, where you can still kind of sift through them. It'll hold 3,000, but it's just not. It's not designed for comics at 3,000. You know, that's when things start getting a little too tight.
Well, it sure looks nice.
Yeah, I like it. But, so anyway, the point is that I'll end up with stacks all over the room of comics, because once they go in the cabinet, they're no longer going to be set up by when I picked them up or who I got them from, and I won't remember to film them or to show them off in any way. And that's a lot of fun to me, to do that part.
Right. Sure.
But anyway, that's the cabinet. When I say the filing cabinet, that's what I'm talking about. For those who haven't seen it.
Well, I think I would have that same problem in quotes, having all those comics. If at a very young age, I was always into like trading lots of little things for the one big good thing. So over the years, I've just kept whittling down over and over again. Like anytime I could, trade or get a big bundle of like cheap comics, and that would help me get like a really awesome comic that was super hard to buy because it was so expensive. I just kept doing that, and like I don't think I ever really regretted doing that. So it's just, and I still kind of do that now. So
I think the greatest thing about YouTube is there's enough channels and there's enough different types of collectors out there. We could probably put together a live stream with 20 different guys with 20 different methods who would say, this is the best method I've found. And there are 20 completely different methods. And that's the whole key, is it's a beautiful tool, YouTube is, to be able to figure out, well, I'll take this piece from this person, this piece from this person, this piece, and then put together. It always is going to be the system that works for you. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the one thing that I'll add to that, though, is that it seems like a lot of us have made the same mistakes over the years, though. So, because there's a lot of ways to do I always say this, there's a lot of ways to do things the right way, but there's more ways to do things the wrong way. And I
think that would have not happened as much if there was I sold some of my stuff I've sold at certain times. If I could have heard from about caution, that would have helped me time.
Yeah, it would have saved me a lot of time to come across things like this that I trusted early on, because I made a lot of filing mistakes and couldn't find a book. I've bought, raise your hand, and I know Silver's have both hands over the table, if you've ever bought a book that you didn't think you had, and then you find out you have 2 or 3 of them when you go to put them away. I've done it. Dave, how many times a week do you buy a book that you already had by accident?
It happens. Honestly, though, I don't know. I don't get upset about it.
I'm sure not.
Yeah, I like it. I like having multiples anyway, but I've done it before. But that was the reason I did the big overhaul to the Alphanumeric. And, again, like Roger said, with a few exceptions, because I keep promotionals, I keep a few different things separated off. But that's the reason I went to Alphanumeric, is I did have times where I was like, oh, I think I need that. And, it turns out I didn't. It doesn't happen so much anymore. But, again, the things that I'm hunting for as a collector, I've gone to, I'm more of an off the grid guy. If everyone's running one direction, I'm fortunate. I'm usually going a different direction.
Right. Well, I think that if it's a book I'm really happy to get and I got it for a good price, I'm never upset to buy multiples. I have books that I have multiples of on purpose, so I'm not going to get too upset when I find ones that are, that are by accident. However, there's a great example. So you got your Rifleman 10 up there, right, Dave?
Yes.
So this weekend I was in an auction I was trying to win another Rifleman 10. I already have one. I know I'm being greedy, but at the point that I felt like it was fair enough to bid up to half the amount that I paid for the first one. so I figured if I had two, then that averages the price down on the first one a little bit. So, I mean, I try and make all the, I didn't end up winning it because obviously it was worth more than I was willing to give for it, because I was only wanting to give half price of what I paid, which was already a good deal. And it went for an even better deal than I had, but it was a downgrade copy. But anyway, you make a lot of excuses as to why having two of this is okay, having three is okay, having four is okay. Like, it's not hard to rationale multiple books. I don't think it is. No, it happens. And we got
well, yeah. I got those two. I was going to sell one of these, and then I just felt like maybe it would have been, I asked a lot of people, like, what would you rather have, this or that? And I ended up selling some of my other more expensive Golden Age books just because I thought that over time, no one lives forever. Over time, the Wonder Woman 1, have an extra one of those would probably sell for more than something that might be considerable in price now, but maybe not as key.
Yeah, I could see that. I think sometimes I collect my doubles on value and resale value, and then sometimes I just collect them because I like the book so well. I can't not pick it up, and it doesn't matter the value. A good example of that for me, a book that I can't stop buying, and I almost bought another one this weekend. Let's see if I can find it real quick. It's Testing the System. Look at that. That's how quick that was.
Death of Superman.
No, Superman 204. It's not even a key of any kind, but I just love it. And so every time I see it for $2 or less in a decent condition, I buy it. I can't help it. I've given so many of these away. I gave one to my dad. It's just ridiculous. I've got one slabbed. So I have more than just these two. These are just the ones in the cabinet. But I just can't help myself. And Dave's flexing over there. The books that he has multiple of.
Oh, man.
But
look at that. That's pretty awesome. I think that beats my Wonder Woman.
No, well, in price maybe. But not in rarity.
Not in rarity.
Not in rarity. Look at that. That's beautiful.
And I traded one, the worst one I had, I traded to a buddy, this is quite a while ago, for 2 comics. So I would have had a 6th one, but instead I have these 2.
Hey, that worked.
There you go.
I don't think anybody's crying about that.
No one's crying about that.
I love those.
I gotta tell you though, the book that I've been in love with, and I don't know if you have one, Silver, but I know Knights does. Knights, you have your Hulk 1 handy?
Yeah.
Would you show that to me?
Yeah.
Just so that I can go to bed happy. I mean, I absolutely love that book. And, I have, to your point, when I'm looking at books, like I have all these in the cabinet. Sorry for the quick move around. So I have all those in the cabinet. So then I do my wall books, kind of on the wall. So these are those, what do you call those things? Comic, forget what those things are called, where they have the displays, braces or something like that. So I have those up there. And then I stole this from Silver. So I use that same bracket system that he uses at the top.
Beautiful.
Or those Rubbermaids, or what do you call those?
Yeah, it's Rubbermaid closet shelving. Is all. If you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Menards, they sell them there. You just need to make sure that you have the wire. Watch my video on it.
Yes. Watch his video on it.
To hold them.
And I did watch the video on it, and it worked good. And then I use top loaders in here. So the whole front of each cabinet is lined with top loaders, and then I swap those out whenever I feel like it. So I just swap out the books in the top loader. So that gives me a bunch of display. I have well over 60 comics on display at any one time, and that's a very moderate amount. It's probably more than that. That's an old count. Oh, here comes Knights. This is the set that I like to see him show.
Yeah, very pretty.
The Golden Age too, but man, that's one hell of a run.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, if I could trade 10,000 comics for this, I'd do it over and over again any day of the week.
Yep. That's beautiful.
Oh, I want to.
You can leave that Spidey out. I'm not a big fan. You can definitely cover that Jim, although I know that DS wants that Jim real bad.
All low grade, though.
Oh, they're beautiful. That Hulk one, I've told my wife, and I've mentioned it recently. I don't know in what chat it was, but I told my wife that one day, you know, don't be surprised if I ever come across that Hulk one. I'm going to be calling you for a ride home because I'm going to sell my car. I'm going to trade it in, and I'm going to pick up that Hulk one. That book will be mine someday, and I know that I'm going to have to make a big sacrifice to get it. And I hope I'm prepared when that time comes. So
I only got 2 Hulk comics at all.
That one, what's the other one? Yep, there you go.
Oh no, wait! I have the McFarlane Wolverine one too.
Oh yeah, with the claws and the reflection.
Yeah.
What is that? I've got it right here. 340. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
That's beautiful. I love it, guys. And you know, it's funny, Silver, you're showing that Lazarus #1, 9.8 white pages you got up there.
Yeah.
So if you've watched the Comigori show that Matt does, right, where he gets a category, right, and you have to.
I love the show. I wish he gave you 30 minutes to find a book. I could be on the show.
30 minutes.
30 seconds.
One round.
I couldn't do anything.
Winner take all. Playing for pinks. But they have that Lazarus #1 would be a book that I would show because it's the only 9.8 white pages in my collection.
Oh, really?
It's the only one. And I realized that the other day. I had no idea. They came up and I was watching the show and I was like, I wonder what I would use for my 9.8 white pages. And I looked all over and I didn't have one. And that was the only one I had. I was like, oh wow, that'd be awesome. I get to show that book for Silver. If that category ever comes up. So there you go.
Yep. It's one of my big spec books. I probably own 50 of them. Not all graded, but I probably own 10 or 20 of them graded. And I just love it. And especially now with all the craziness going on, I think it really applies to a lot of things. But it's a great book, great art, great story. Anyway, well, I'm glad you liked that one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, what do you say, guys? You think we've
I gotta keep going.
pulled the ears of everyone tonight?
Take care, guys. I'm running late, so I gotta run. But it was great talking to you guys, and keep healthy.
Thanks for hanging, Nice. We appreciate you.
Good night, sir.
All right. Where'd he go? All right.
All right, and I'm going to have to call it a night too. It was so fun. I don't go on live shows, but BUB'S, we've known each other a long time. It was a lot of fun, and I don't think we helped anyone with organizing questions.
Well, maybe not.
Give everyone their money back.
Maybe not, but I think that it wasn't a complete dumpster fire.
No,
and we definitely all had a good time. So there's no doubt about that. Silver? I think Silver Streak. I think that the streak is holding. I don't think that you have appeared live on any anyone's channel other than your own, there's a lot of caveats here, that I have not been on that same stream at some point.
That is probably true. Well, I did the Christmas one
I was on that.
with you and Roger
Yep.
and Lawrence.
Yep.
And then I did this one.
Yeah.
And I think that's all.
There was one other. You dropped in on someone's. Oh, Rogers.
Yeah, Gray Man.
Rogers
Oh,
celebration
Gray Man.
video.
That was Gray Man. And I was cleaning my garage and I talked about styrofoam. And that's when Gray Man said I should be Styrofoam Dave. Yeah, and you were on there.
Yeah, that's right. Boy,
Yeah.
we had a big time. I tell you, so always a pleasure to be on a chat with you, Dave. Thanks again. I don't think we tore the whole place apart. I think we did pretty good. I think everybody should be pretty satisfied with
I think
with this episode. So
yeah,
thanks
having
again.
me, man.
We'll have you on again anytime you can come. You're always welcome on No Faces Chat, a true long time No Faces channel that you've got there, and we appreciate it. So we'll catch everybody next time on the No Faces Comic Chat. Remember to read a comic and don't apologize for the glare. Bye-bye.
Good night, all.